Hi, hello. Welcome back to the Deanne's POV podcast. My name is Deanne, and I'm so glad to have you guys here with me today. So let's get into today's episode. So I wanted to give you guys a little life update. I guess like these past couple weeks have been a little crazy just because there's a lot going on. Today I'm actually recording in the new house that we're moving into, which is super exciting. As of right now, I have no furniture, but that's just because I've been pushing off ordering furniture for so long. And I guess now, I need to get on my game, but it's going to come in within the next couple of weeks, which is amazing. So besides that, I've just been like working on me and my sister's brand, working on my photography. And if you guys follow me on socials, like on TikTok or Instagram, you've probably already seen this, but I did do my first ever self-portrait. And honestly, it's nothing crazy, but I had a lot of fun with it. I don't like, usually I don't even like being in front of the camera. So it was really fun to just like, kind of like push myself and really see like what I can do. And I'm not gonna call myself a photographer because I'm like really new to everything, still learning so much about it, but it's a hobby that I actually really truly enjoy. So yeah, if you haven't, definitely go check it out. It's on Instagram, Cosmo, TikTok, and I probably will be putting on Pinterest within the next couple of days. So yeah, and honestly, I have been in my reading game. Like I've honestly just been like going through books, and I'm not gonna say they're very thick books, but I don't even have a long attention span to be going through like 500-page books. Like it's just not for me. I like a quick read. I just like when things kind of get straight to the point. So yeah, I recently just borrowed a book from my sister, and it's called The Giver. And honestly, I've seen so many like films and shows that are very similar to the book. So yeah, it's been good so far. I honestly don't remember who the author was, but I'll probably just put it in the description in the episode. Anywho, for today's episode, I wanted to open up a little bit more about my experiences with anxiety and being extremely, extremely self-critical. And honestly, I've dealt with a lot of social anxiety ever since I was in my mid-teens. Like I'm gonna say 15. Like I would say 15 years old is when I really dealt with it. And honestly, I wouldn't just say it was social anxiety, but it was mainly social anxiety. Like I would overthink every little conversation I had to the point where I just like distanced myself from everybody. And honestly, what really held me back was, what if somebody doesn't like what I say? What if somebody thinks that I'm stupid? What if I hurt somebody's feelings or hurt somebody with the things that I say? And it's like nothing crazy. Sometimes it's just like my opinion, you know what I mean? And yeah, it's good to be like, think about other people and their feelings and be considering that way. However, to like what extent? Because a lot of the time it wasn't like anything crazy. It was just me overthinking every little conversation that I had. And honestly, it kind of like bled into every relationship I had, whether it was friendships, family, work. It was literally all aspects. And I honestly just became a very, very quiet person, and a person that was very much in their head. And honestly, like this whole battle that I was in was more of a me versus me. It had absolutely nothing to do with other people or the people around me. It had nothing to do with circumstances or even the challenges that I faced. It had more to do with how I dealt with myself. mainly focusing on how I would talk to myself, how I would be able to pick myself up after something doesn't work out, right? Or doesn't go as planned. And the main thing was being able to forgive myself for my mistakes and my shortcomings. And I feel like that is the one thing that I struggled, like really, really struggled with the most. And honestly, the crazy thing is that when it comes to other people, I'm an extremely forgiving person, right? Because I'm always like giving people the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, well, people make mistakes, da da da. But when it comes to me, those same rules don't apply. For some reason in my head, those same rules don't apply to me because I need to be better. I need to do better. I need to be perfect in a way. And honestly, like deep down, I knew that being perfect is impossible. And just holding myself to these impossibly high standards will just like increase my struggle, right? Increase my anxiety and my fear of looking stupid, or even my fear of not saying the right thing. So, as we all know, when it comes to forgiveness, there's two main parts, right? There's accountability and there's forgiveness. And as I said before, like forgiveness was the hardest part for me. Accountability just came super easy to me, right? Because I never wanted to put my faults on other people. Like, it's nobody else's fault but myself because it's the decisions that I made. And even if it's like a minor mistake, like if I mess something up, I literally would put myself down so much. I'll be so self-critical of myself to the point where I would play the scenario in my head a million times. And not just like what actually happened, but I'm like, what if I changed XYZ? Like, what would happen then? I would constantly literally think about every possibility that I could possibly think about at the time. And this was just like really draining me. It was draining me physically, mentally, emotionally, and honestly, it was just adding more fuel to the fire until the fire eventually burnt out. Because when you're caught up in a very anxious state and you're feeling very anxious and you constantly keep yourself in that anxious state, right? Because of a fear you have that is pretty much an irrational fear. You constantly put yourself in this constant loop of being in this anxious state and thinking of what ifs. And I feel like that really held me back in all aspects of my life, not just like my social life, right? I was afraid of making friends because I was like, what if this person learns XYZ about me? And they hate me for it. Or I would be like, what if I say this and I just sound like an idiot? So it just like held me back in that sense. But also like in my career, like I was always worried about the future, right? I had this like 20-year plan of mine and I was like, things aren't working out, da da da. So I was like constantly like digging myself a deeper hole. And honestly, like a lot of the things that I was worried about and a lot of the things that I was stressing myself about was out of my control. Like I have no clue what's going to happen at the end. I have no clue how things are going to turn out for me. And that was just like a hard pill for me to swallow for the longest time. And I would honestly like literally have nightmares of things not working out the way I anticipated. And when I had this talk with my sister, I was like, yeah, like I would think about every little possibility of how I could have done things better. Like I would, before I go to bed, I would literally replay my whole day and try to figure out like what I could have changed in order for the outcome to be better. Even if my day was good, I will still think of ways to make it better. And it was just like, it was really just me versus my inner critic. And my inner critic's voice was so freaking loud. And it was annoying. At some point it was so annoying because I was just becoming more and more exhausted by the day. And as I mentioned before, when you're stuck in an anxious state, you're going to be stuck in that anxious state for a while. You know what I mean? It's hard to get out because it kind of just feeds on itself. Fear feeds on itself. The more you fear something, the greater it gets and the stronger it gets. So forgiveness and accountability are not mutually exclusive, right? Accountability, you just need to own up to it, right? You need to own up to your shortcomings. You need to own up to your mistakes. While forgiveness, on the other hand, is just like releasing yourself of the emotional burden and guilt and the self-condemnation. So honestly, like when you hold yourself accountable for things, you're giving yourself space to grow and change. While when you're punishing yourself, leads to just like a negative self-image. Like it really just degrades the way that you see yourself. So that is why it's so important to be able to forgive yourself and to give yourself grace. And a lot of the time, we don't realize our inner voice, like that really harsh voice in your head, is shaped by your upbringing, your environment, your past experiences. And I'm not trying to like shift blame onto like, yeah, this was due to my past. This was due to, like, you know what I mean? But it's just like recognizing the influence that it may have had, and just like taking yourself out of the equation to kind of just look at it from a third party. Just be like, okay, yeah, I reacted wrong to the situation. I did this wrong because of the influence this might have had on me. And it's like, how can I move forward from that? How can I change the trajectory in order to grow from it? And honestly, it all just ends up with the intention that you had, the intention that you set for what you wanted, right? And it's just like a lot of the times you have good intentions, even though it might not come across as so. But just like understanding the why behind your behavior kind of just sheds light on who you are as a person, or like where you were coming from in that sense. So honestly, mistakes are inevitable. Everybody is gonna make millions and millions of mistakes in their lives. And the whole point of these mistakes or these shortcomings or not getting what you want is a lesson to be learned, right? Like it's like a stepping stone that's supposed to push you towards what you're meant to do in life. You know what I mean? So it's like learn from all your shortcomings and move forward. Like right now, if I didn't have the mindset that I have now, right? If I take myself in my current situation and put it on 18-year-old Leon, she would honestly be so stressed right now. So right now, I applied to 30 plus medical schools. I have been catching rejections left and right. I've taken my MCAT twice. And if anybody knows what that exam really is, it's so much work. It will literally make you so mentally drained. And like honestly, if I had the same mindset as I did when I was 18, I would probably be like crying in a corner right now because I didn't get what I wanted or I didn't get what I anticipated. But honestly, like you can't force it. Like I can't go to the administrations and be like, you have to take me, because no, they don't. Like I have no control over the outcome. I can't force them into something that just wasn't meant to be. So it's just being able to let go of the outcome and focus on the actual journey, because I did learn a lot during the past year or so where I was prepping for all these applications, and I'm like, maybe there was like some holes in my application that I need to focus on more if I were to apply again. You know what I mean? So honestly, it's just like reducing the amount of pressure that you're putting on yourself, because I feel like we're already getting a lot of pressure from everybody else around us and society in general. So like maybe reducing the load on yourself by reducing the amount of pressure that you put on yourself. And honestly, for me, a lot of the pressure that was on me, like I felt like I was carrying the world on my shoulders, and that was just due to me putting pressure on me. I was not getting pressured by anybody else around me to do all of these things that I need to do. And it's funny because like my parents are very, very chill. And they're the ones that keep on dragging me back to reality. They're like, Rion, you need to chill, right? You really need to chill. Like you can't keep on putting all this pressure on yourself, because at the end, when you apply all like too much pressure, you're going to explode. So honestly, just take the time to forgive yourself for all your mishaps. Take accountability. Yeah, like maybe this mistake was grand in your life, right? Like it may have changed the trajectory of your life. However, is being able to learn from that and apply it. You know what I mean? So just like letting it go. Like stop feeling guilty for every little thing that goes wrong. Because honestly, guilt itself is a double-edged sword, because there's positive guilt on one hand, right, which can kind of motivate you to make that change and take responsibilities for your actions. But on the other hand, there's this like prolonged guilt, right, that can lead you down a shame spiral, and it will just like create this negative self-image. And the key to kind of figuring that out is like when you realize that guilt should not be prolonged, right? You're not supposed to feel guilt and shame for the rest of your life for a single mistake that you've done or for a single shortcoming, you know what I mean? So it's just like, yeah, okay, that has happened. Now, how can I move from it? But when you're going down the shame spiral, you're just digging yourself a deeper and deeper hole. So honestly, a lot of the things that really helped me was just practicing mindfulness, being able to tell myself that it's okay. You know what I mean? Having my deep breathing exercises were super helpful and helped me stay grounded. A lot of journaling helped because I put all my feelings on paper. And when I did that, I feel like it was being released. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense, actually. Another major thing is like when you catch yourself going down a shame spiral or feeling super anxious about something, ask yourself why. Like a lot of the time when I was in a social situation where I was just starting to feel anxious, I would be like, why are you anxious right now? Like, I'm human, they're human. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, if you say something wrong, you say something wrong. Like, if you don't understand something, you don't understand something. You know what I mean? So it's just like giving yourself the room to make mistakes, giving yourself the room to have shortcomings, because the whole idea isn't to be perfect. The idea is to learn from it and try your best. Another thing to always remember is that you cannot change the past. You cannot go back and nitpick what you want to change and come back to your current time to see what's up. You know what I mean? Like it's going to keep you stuck in the past. It's going to keep you stuck in that moment, because you're going to be thinking about all the possibilities of what could have been, or all the what ifs. It literally just keeps you in that time. It like takes up all this brain energy that you can possibly be productive with. And instead of being productive, you're constantly in this shame cycle and you're just keeping yourself there. So just like, one, you need to realize that you're keeping yourself there. 2, you need to figure out why you're keeping yourself there. And 3, you need to be able to take the next step to get out of there. Another way that you can really just work through this is being able to talk to somebody. My person is my family. I'll talk to my sister about this. I'll talk to my mom about it. And they're kind of like my therapist in that way. And they kind of just give me a different perspective, right? And when I get that different perspective, it allows me to think about it in a different way. And when I think about it in a different way, it allows me to move forward from it a lot easier. So just having that person that you trust and are able to share what you're feeling or what you're thinking with, that is extremely helpful. And honestly, it kind of like lightens the burden as well, which is also really, really nice. Another major thing would be that anxiety is not just like a mental thing. It's not something that we just made up, right? Anxiety has been part of our fight or flight system, and it's an actual physical thing. It's all these chemicals in our brains that are just like working to keep you safe in a way. Because like right now, if I was scared of public speaking, for example, which honestly, I would say I'm 50-50 on that. Like, I would have increased anxiety, increased cortisol levels, because it's like you're going to be doing something dangerous, or at least that's what your brain thinks. So when you acknowledge that it's an actual physical thing and you acknowledge that it's real, then you're going to be able to move forward. But if you constantly ignore it, you're going to be like, oh, whatever, like that doesn't exist. It's going to really just reinforce it and keep you in that very anxious state and that fear state that we all kind of want to move forward from. Okay, so the final thing that I'm going to say about this topic is that we are all human, right? At the end of the day, we're all human. It's all our first time living life. Like, there's not one person on planet Earth that has a secret formula hidden away that tells you how to be happy, successful, and live the perfect life. Like, there's no such thing as the perfect life. So just realizing that everybody's just here trying their best, including you. You are trying your best. You don't have a rule book on how to be successful, happy, and living the perfect life, right? We're just trying our best. Like, we're constantly making decisions that we think are good for us. And if it was a mistake or a shortcoming, it happens. And honestly, like, self-forgiveness doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. It's going to take time and energy for you to be able to forgive yourself. And when you do, honestly, it's like the world is just lifted off of your shoulders. Like, all of that burden's just gone. And it feels amazing. There was this quote from Maya Angelou that I wanted to share with you guys, and it just resonated with me so much. And she said, "Forgive yourself for not knowing what you didn't know before you learned it." Just let that just like sit with you for a second and just think about it. Like, I feel like we're just so hard on ourselves in general. So why are we hard on ourselves for something that we honestly didn't know? Anywho, please, please, please take the time to forgive yourself. Take the time to give yourself grace. Give the same amount of grace that you give everybody else that you care about to yourself, because honestly, you deserve it. So yeah. Anywho, if you guys really like this episode, please leave a comment and a review. I really love hearing from you guys. If you like this podcast, share it with your friends, family, anybody you think would like it. And yeah, if you guys ever want to connect, I am on socials at AnsPOV. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, whatever you can think of. And I hope you guys all have amazing week. And I will see you guys in the next episode.